I have been accused of fakery, and it's all because of this image. I call this image Moon Glow, and I shot this back in 2017. And every Christmas I trot this image out because it's kind of a Christmassy image, and I post it on the socials, and I always get the same old comments. Is this real? Is this fake? And these days, is this AI? And I thought, well, what is it about this image that makes people think it's fake? So I decided to upload it to X and run it through the AI called Grok and just ask it the question, is this image made by AI? And here's what it said. Based on the visual characteristics of this image, it's quite possible that this image was created or enhanced by AI. Here's why. Lighting and colours. The lighting in the image is very dramatic and uniform with a strong blue tint that might not occur naturally in such a setting. All right, I'll give you that. Of course, I tweaked that blue tint to be luscious and delightful. That's what people like. Detail and texture. The snow texture in the foreground is very detailed. Well, of course it is. I'm a professional photographer. That's what it's all about, you know what I mean? Now, here's the interesting bit. Overall composition. The composition is almost too perfect. You know, I mean, that's not me saying that, that's Grok, right? You know, it really is almost too perfect. With the cabin, trees, and reflections all aligning in a way that looks like it could be designed for aesthetic appeal. I do this for a living. I've been doing it a long time, you know. Thanks, Grok. So I think what this shows is that AI is not always right. You can't trust it for everything, but it's really quite impressive how AI can see and notice what makes a good composition. So what is it about my image that makes people think it's fake? Well, I think the same thing that makes people want to look at it, the same thing that makes it attractive, is the very thing that makes people question whether or not it's real, and that is the quality of the light. Now, this is obviously a moonlit scene. I mean, the moon doesn't actually produce any light. It's just sunlight reflected off the moon. It's a giant reflector in the sky. But in the winter, especially in this location, when the moon is low in the sky and that light bounces off the moon and lights up the scene in such a beautiful way, that's when you get this quality of light. And I don't think most people are used to seeing that quality of light, because most people are sane and indoors and not outside in minus 25 Celsius trying to take pictures. So first of all, most people aren't used to seeing that kind of light. But secondly, most photographers aren't usually out shooting landscapes like this in this kind of light. So it's unusual. And that draws people into the image and makes them want to look at it. But that same unusual light is what makes people think, is this real? Is this fake? Is this AI? No, it's not fake. And here's me faffing around with the raw files. And of course, I've processed this, I've tweaked this to have more rich and vibrant colors. But that moment actually happened and it looked somewhat like the finished image. Anyway, that is my rant over. And like I said, I think the most interesting element here is how AI has got a bit of a good artistic eye for composition. We might have to watch out for that because we could be out of a job pretty soon. So now let me take you on a landscape photography adventure to a place that is otherworldly. We're back on the road in Iceland, looking for adventure and chasing the light at 3 o'clock in the morning. And yes, I do know that my hat is inside out. It's the new style.
So I've come down to the glacier where you have all these icebergs. I mean, just not only is this fantastic subject matter, look at that light. The light is just absolutely fantastic this morning. It's really windy. It's bloody cold. But what I'm trying to do is, if you look at this foreground here, all these beautiful ice shapes, and then you've got all these, I don't know if these are some kind of geese, some kind of ducks. You've got these adorable birds with their little babies. I'm getting some absolutely gorgeous, just handheld shots. So I'm just walking around, snapping away. Oh, bye then. There they go. Was I too loud? I don't think so.
It's hard to believe the sub-zero temperatures at the height of summer, but they do call it Iceland for a reason. So I captured my first handheld shot, and it actually turned out quite nice. What I tried to do with my photography is make you feel the way that I felt when I captured the image. So tell me, do you feel cold? We decided to get back on the road in search of something a little greener.
It's 5 a.m. I've actually had 13 hours of sleep, but because we're ill, I still have a face like a betrayed orangutan. And I think it's day 3 of our illness, would you say?
5.
Well, 5 for you, 3 for me. It's probably the unmentionable. Can't mention it on the channel because of the fun police. So we've arrived at this absolutely unpronounceable but spectacular canyon. And it is absolutely fantastic. Because it's 5 a.m, I guess. We're the only people here. There is nobody here. We've got the whole place to ourselves, just us and the sheep. So we're going to walk up the trail that goes all the way to the top of the canyon. See if we can find some nice compositions. Now, I feel like I should have brought the telephoto, which is back in the car. It's back in the car, just down there. All right, well, let's go up the trail then.
Now, with such high cliffs and muddy trails, I could see why they'd built this viewing platform, but it did make the photography a little bit challenging. But you know me, I like a challenge.
How good is that for a morning view? I guess that would explain why they built this viewing platform right over this spot, because this is the best view that you can get on foot. But I just wanted to get a nice super wide shot with the 20-35 at 20mm, just to get that lovely Hasselblad colour. And I might just put the CPL on, see if I can just saturate the colours a little bit and add a bit more contrast. But so far this is spectacular. I mean, look at this business. Now I'm using this KASE KW Revolution filter kit, magnetic filters, but the problem is I've only got 82mm, but I do have a, do you call it a step down ring, so that I can put this 82 onto the 77 for this lens. I'll show you how you do it. So this is the ring that's got to go onto this lens. So it's basically going to turn this 77mm thread that you can see there into an 82mm thread, and then I can fit on the CPL. Just get that in tight. There you go, that's in good. Grab the CPL from my bag. I'm doing this one-handed, it's a bit skew-whiff. Alright, so now that's on, just put the CPL on and we're good. Now the downside of doing that, where you're basically putting an adapter on to fit a bigger filter onto a smaller thread, is that now I can't get my lens hood on, which is one of the things I loved about this filter system. I can get my lens hood on with an 82mm thread, but not now that I've got a bigger filter on a smaller thread. But it's a lot cheaper than buying a whole set of filters for 77mm. Right, so I'm going to get this on the tripod and explain my idea for this composition.
Now, at this point in time, it would be rude if I didn't mention my new book, Stories Within Stories. There's a link in the description if you want to pick up a signed copy.
Now, I'm going to be quite honest with you here. There's 2 compositions, and I think I can actually tie them together to make one massive, epic panorama. But the problem is I can't do that while it's on the tripod, because this thing is in the way. So basically the composition would be a sweep from, well, I'll show you, let's flip this round. So here's what's on the camera right now, right? I'm filling the frame with what's going on here in this canyon. And then so let's say I take that shot, I then want to flip it round, and I would have to level it. You can see it's a total mess there. But I would then take another shot of this scene over here. So you've got this plus this over here. I think it will stitch together, but because of this, I really don't think I can do it on the tripod. I'm gonna have to go handheld and just hang over the edge of that thing and try not to drop it. And you know, us cool landscape photographers, we're too cool to have a strap. So there is an element of risk when you're leaning out, taking a shot like that. But you know, touch wood, I think I'll be all right. So what I'm gonna do is I'll show you the two handheld frames, one composition over here, and then the other one over there. And then if they do stitch together, I'll show you those as a stitched panorama. So here's the first shot.
So it's not a bad shot in and of itself, but if I wasn't stitching together a pano, I'd most likely refine it a little bit. The question is, will it stitch with the second composition?
It's quite nice, wasn't it? And here's the second shot of the other side of this view.
Now that I've studied the scene, I actually think I prefer this side a little bit more. I just love those curving lines and weaving trails. Delicious.
And then here is the stitched panorama. Let me know what you think. Post a comment below.
That circular polarizer made such a difference to the colours. In fact, look at this video clip which doesn't have a CPL. Just look how flat those colours are. But that's because it's my vlogging camera and I don't want to look weird.
Okay, so now I've come to the other side of this platform. So earlier I was on that edge there, but now I'm down on this edge here. And it's the same problem. To get the composition that I want, I just can't do it from the tripod. I'm gonna have to lean over and do a handheld frame, but I'll show you the back of the camera and explain roughly what I'm after. So what I've framed up is, now we're on the other side of this cliff, looking at this waterfall coming down, and I've gone in a bit tighter to, I think I'm all the way in at, no, maybe that's 35, so that's probably where I'll be at. Maybe I'll back off to maybe something like 28 or something like that. The problem is the railing, right? So I'm gonna have to take the camera off the tripod and go handheld. The beauty with this camera and this lens though is that I can shoot a handheld 1 second exposure and get it perfectly sharp. So I really don't need the tripod for this shot, but I would need it if I was doing things like focus stacking and time blending and bracketing and all that kind of thing. But for a shot like this, in this lovely sort of soft, cloudy light, I should be able to get this in one frame. And if this shot turns out to be any good, here's the shot.
I was able to capture this pano in just 2 horizontal frames. I had to clone out that metal railing, but it was still pretty easy to put together. if you fancy joining Amanda and I for 5 days of photography in Iceland, you might want to consider joining my summer workshop. There's a link in the description if you're interested.
Now, nobody ever told me there would be midges in Iceland.
You told me there was.
Well, it's so close to Scotland, I figure there's gonna be midges. But you know what I haven't seen? I haven't seen a single tick, which is nice. I hate ticks. Although, what's that itching on my face? What's that?
It's just a grey.
You cheeky sore spot. I don't have any greys.
Before I end today's video, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters shown here. And on my Patreon, I regularly post critique videos where patrons can submit their images for critique. So if you're interested in becoming a patron, there's a link in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.